The iPhone 12 came out the October of 2020, bringing major improvements to the more budget-oriented side of the iPhone line. The 12 was the successor to the iPhone 11, but brought the experience on the more budget phone a lot closer to the Pro experience, with the vibrant, gorgeous OLED and a just generally more sleek design. We also got the iPhone 12 mini, the smallest phone Apple had made since the iPhone SE in 2016. And of course, there was that gorgeous blue color. You can't beat that. The iPhone 12 truly was the complete package, offering fantastic flagship level features at a reasonable price tag, at least relative to how expensive the 12 Pro could get. Personally, I actually used the phone for the whole year until the iPhone 13 Pro came out, having nothing but good things to say about the performance, the camera quality, and the battery life. Hey, how's it going? I'm Josh from 91 Tech, and the iPhone 12 is, in my opinion, one of the most solid iPhones Apple's ever made, and that's a bold statement. That being said, despite all the good, do not buy the iPhone 12 in 2022, as it is no longer worth the price Apple is currently selling it for. So in this video, let's talk about why exactly that is, and why I still very much like the iPhone 12. My last review on the iPhone 12 was all the way back when it came out, so I think we're long overdue for a revisit. I bought it when it launched and used it for a full year until the iPhone 13 Pro released, at which point I made the switch. I loved my iPhone 12. It was a very straightforward, reliable, and premium experience, which is exactly what I want from a smartphone. And it came with all the modern commodities, with a nice display, a great camera, fast performance, and more than decent battery life. I'll of course be looking at all the typical review points of the phone a little later on, and the timestamps are in the description below, but for now, we do need to talk about value. The iPhone 12 in 2022 is no longer worth the money, and it's not because it's by any means a bad phone. It's still great. The problem is that the value factor is not there, and turning to Apple's website, we can quickly find out why exactly that is. With the launch of the new iPhones in late 2021, Apple reduced the price of the iPhone 12 at 64GB to $700 US from $800, and then the 12 mini from $700 to $600. On paper, a $100 reduction doesn't sound so bad and might even be worth it, but the all-new iPhone 13 or 13 mini is much more worth it by a long shot. It replaced the iPhone 12's old price point, starting with 128GB at $800 for the standard iPhone 13. So, for $100 more, you get a year newer device with double the system storage. If you'd like, you can upgrade the iPhone 12 to 128 gigs when you're buying it, and doing so brings your price tag up to $750. $50 less than the same amount of storage in the iPhone 13. And the iPhone 13 hasn't necessarily been improved by a huge margin, but it is still a full year newer. It brings a slightly smaller notch, a newer chipset, and quite a bit better battery life. It's not worth saving only $100 for an iPhone 12 over the 13, and it's quite confusing to me why Apple lined up their pricings like this. Of course, these prices are the ones when you buy straight up unlocked from Apple, and going through a carrier with a plan of some sorts will likely change things significantly. And if you find a deal for the iPhone 12, I mean, go for it. It's a fantastic device, and one that, were it not for the 13, I'd still be recommending wholeheartedly. It's a big jump over the $500 iPhone 11, which is still a great phone, but is missing the much better OLED panel that gives true blacks, vibrant colors, and a higher resolution. For most of this video, I'll be referring to the iPhone 12 and 12 mini simply as just the iPhone 12, as they're completely identical besides the fact that the 12 mini is, well, mini. Practically speaking, it doesn't make much difference beyond the screen size, though I'd expect battery life to be a bit worse, and the phone's also $600 versus $700. Don't get the mini just to save some money. The phone is right about the same size as that old iPhone 5, 5S, and so on, just with the edge-to-edge display, and that's simply going to be too small for I think most smartphone users these days. Most people are just accustomed to the larger screens. But if you are someone who enjoys small phones, by all means go for it, and your wallet will feel a bit better about it too. So backing up a little bit here and talking about the iPhone 12 and what it brought over the iPhone 11, we got two major changes. There was the design, and then there was something else. You might remember it from Apple's event. It was very subtle, they barely mentioned it, and that was 5G networking. I kid, they said the word like 50 times. Yeah, the iPhone 12 has 5G networking, something that not everyone can use yet, but depending on your carrier and location, 5G can give you access to significantly faster internet speeds than LTE. For me, it's never been much of a big selling point. Even once I switched to a carrier that actually has 5G in my area and could use it, but Apple loves talking about it, and I know some people really want 5G, so it's certainly worth a mention. The change I was personally more interested in was with the design, and boy, what a change it was. The iPhone 11 and XR didn't look bad, but they were very obviously the cheaper counterparts to Apple's main iPhone, and this was especially noticeable from the front, as you had thicker bezels, that lower resolution screen, and there was just that overall less premium look. It was very clear they weren't the best iPhones, even if they were still good phones, and that was clearly intentional on Apple's part. So when the iPhone 12 went and flipped this on its head, I was pleasantly surprised. The iPhone 12 retains the aluminum frame and glossy glass back, but flattens the design, making the phone look and feel much more compact. The edges are smooth and flat, just like the 12 Pro, and on the front of the phone we now have reduced bezels and for the first time OLED on an iPhone that isn't the most expensive iPhone. That display is 6.1 inches, the exact same as the smaller 12 Pro, and it's almost the perfect smartphone size in my opinion. It fits in the hand with relative ease and gives a ton of screen real estate without being too uncomfortable to use. OLED differs from the LCD of the iPhone 11 and XR. It basically allows the phone to turn off individual pixels and give true blacks, resulting in deeper, richer, and more vibrant colors. The resolution is also quite a bit higher than the older phones, which means more pixels and a sharper image. You're looking at a pixel density of 460 pixels per inch versus the iPhone 11 and its pixel density of 326 pixels per inch. The screen isn't going to make or break the iPhone 12 for the average user, but if you're someone coming from an OLED smartphone or really want the best display possible on your device, then you're definitely going to want to look higher than the iPhone 11. Interestingly, the iPhone 12 mini actually has a slightly higher pixel density than the regular 12 at 476 pixels per inch. This is just due to how the phone is sized, and it won't be discernible in real life use. The size we get here is 5.4 inches, which might sound decently big, but the phone itself is again about the size of an iPhone 5 or 5S. That's quite small. I'm really glad Apple made a small phone like this. It had been asked for from a very dedicated group for quite a few years, and more variety and choice in the market is a good thing. My friend who's holding his 12 mini here has pretty large hands, but still prefers the small phone, and that's totally fair. For the iPhone 12, or literally any iPhone Apple sells, I would recommend a case, as glass backs look nice, but tend to be delicate. The glass here is used to accommodate wireless charging. We also have fast charging as well, which you can use assuming you have a compatible charger. The iPhone 12 is water resistant, though you probably shouldn't go swimming with it. And while these features have been around for a while, we did get a big new one with the 12 in MagSafe. There's this magnetic ring around the Apple logo within the device that allows you to seamlessly attach various MagSafe accessories, such as their magnetic wireless charger or magnetic portable battery bank. That battery bank in particular only costing you about a kidney or two. You know, no biggie really. You can also buy MagSafe compatible cases, which admittedly are pretty cool. And I myself have been using them since I got the 12. Inside the case is that magnetic ring, which means it's compatible with all the chargers as well as various other accessories. There are non-Apple products that do support MagSafe and are a bit cheaper a lot of the time. Going back to the phone itself, the iPhone 12 and 12 mini are identical, as I said, except for the display and the battery life. Since the 12 is physically larger than the 12 mini, it's got a bigger battery and thus should perform a bit better in that department. However, both phones, from my own experience and from people I know, seem to perform fairly well when it comes to battery life, lasting a day without much trouble in moderate to heavy usage. My iPhone 12 wouldn't last 2 days, but even with pretty heavy usage, it would more than last a day. If battery is a worry, I would definitely get the bigger one, but really you should be looking at the iPhone 13, as it was a pretty decent spec bump in the battery life. I think Apple said 2.5 extra hours in the iPhone 13 over the iPhone 12, and then 1.5 in the 13 mini over the 12 mini, so that's quite significant. The iPhone 13 improved a lot of little things, including the camera setup, but it didn't make any major changes there. The iPhone 12 is pretty darn similar. We have a very good camera setup here. There are two lenses on the back, both being 12 megapixels. One is a normal wide lens and the other is an ultra wide, just like with the iPhone 11. The photos this phone can take are absolutely gorgeous, and you can see the difference between the two lenses here. The normal wide lens will take the better photo, generally speaking, but the ultra wide is nice to have, particularly for landscapes and any situation where you want to get more in frame. There is no telephoto zoom lens like on the Pro iPhones, but as someone who went to the iPhone 12 from the iPhone 11 Pro, which had the 3 lenses on the back, personally I didn't really miss it. We do get some nice photography features with the 12 line, albeit ones that were also on the iPhone 11. There are night photos, which take brighter photos in low light situations, and then there are portrait mode photos, which blur the background behind the subject, giving this beautiful bokeh effect. From the portrait shots to the ultra wides to the regular photos to whatever, the iPhone 12 is beyond capable of capturing gorgeous images. And while I'm very much no photographer, I did manage to shoot at least a few nice pictures throughout my year with the phone. Video can be filmed in 4K at up to 60 frames per second, and it looks really good. iPhones have been the best when it comes to the videography aspect of smartphone cameras for years now, and the iPhone 12 is no exception. Turning to the front of the device, the selfie camera can also take 4K video with that single 12 megapixel lens, and you can pick between a wider and more zoomed in field of view. The wider one takes full advantage of the 12 megapixel camera. All in all, the camera of the iPhone 12 is still one of its strongest points, even if it's only slightly improved over the iPhone 11. And that makes sense given that the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro were pretty massive upgrades in the photography department when they came out. The important thing is that your phone can consistently take great pictures, and the iPhone 12 and 12 mini can handle that with ease. Speaking of handling things with ease, the iPhone 12 is blazing fast, featuring Apple's A14 Bionic chipset and 4 GB of RAM. For any Android users, that might not sound like a lot of RAM, but keep in mind, because Apple makes their own software in iOS, they're able to cater the experience to their devices, resulting in much greater optimization and speeds. This phone absolutely flies and can tear through anything and everything you could possibly want to do, from the basics in social media to video streaming, web browsing, and the more intensive stuff like 3D gaming and the like. 5G networking means there's also potential for, when it comes to the internet, ridiculously fast load times. And all of this results in a phone that not only provides a reliable, fast, and smooth experience, but a phone that also doesn't really feel like it's approaching 2 years old only this fall. And the future of software support looks bright. Apple is crazy good when it comes to older smartphones, and while most Android makers leave you behind after 2 to 3 years, Apple has most recently given 7 years of updates to the iPhone 6s with iOS 15. That is an absolutely absurd number for a smartphone, and so even trying to be conservative, I'd estimate that the iPhone 12 should get at least another 4 years. Basically, if you're using the iPhone 12 or 12 mini, you're absolutely covered for the foreseeable future. And if you do end up buying one right now, it will have a long life ahead of it. And now we come back full circle to buying an iPhone 12, and as we established early on, buying new from Apple just isn't worth it when the iPhone 13 has double the storage and all the new stuff for only $100 more. However, a lot of people don't buy their iPhones from Apple. They get them through their carriers, often for deals and on contracts, making the price a lot lower right off the bat. So if you find what you consider to be a worthy deal of an iPhone 12 or 12 mini, don't be afraid to go for it. They're still fantastic smartphones in 2022. If you're someone who prefers to buy from the used market, that's where things are a little bit less black and white. Looking to eBay.com, the iPhone 12 seems to be going for around $500 to $600, $500 being about the lowest I've seen, a little under $500 in a couple cases, but for only a couple $100 more, you can get the device brand new with a brand new battery, and for me that would be more worth it, but then of course, you might as well get the 13. The 12 mini is also a bit cheaper, so the big thing is look around for a deal. I'd try to find something under $500 in good condition if you want to buy used. Of course, the US versus other countries, it varies so much, it can be so expensive. I'm in Canada, so I get it to an extent, but same thing applies. Always want to find a deal relative to what's available, but generally speaking, I always recommend buying new, unless you're someone who's quite comfortable with the used market. And so with that, I think I'm right about done here. The iPhone 12 and 12 mini are still such good phones. There really isn't too much to say, and you would expect just as much given that they're not even 2 years old yet. But still, nice to see they've aged well so far, and will no doubt continue to do so in the coming years. If you found this video helpful or interesting, maybe hit that like button and consider subscribing for more content just like this. You can follow me over on Twitter, Instagram, and even TikTok at 91_tech. With that all being said, thank you so much for watching. I'm Josh from 91tech, and I will see you all next time.